Hey, so I just finished watching A24's Talk to Me, and I'm really excited about it. Um, the horror genre, for as long as I can remember, my whole life has always been my favorite, and so every year I try to do 31 days of horror for October. Halloween is my favorite holiday. It also happens to be my husband and I's wedding anniversary, so it's a very important day. And I like to enjoy the season of all things spooky. And I kicked it off today with A24's Talk to Me. And this is just a little review. I have to say, honestly, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't find it to be predictable, which was refreshing. I'm not usually a huge fan of the kind of ghost story type genre or, hauntings or things like that. It's just not my favorite section of horror. But I do have to say that this was entertaining. The casting was brilliant. I love how A24 casts real seeming people, the way that they speak, the way that they look, the way that they interact with each other. It's all very natural, cohesive. And I think it really helps to kind of put you in the story of, believing the situation. And the nice thing is, I don't feel like A24 gives you too much information about a story. I think we all have gone into watching their films, if it's something that you're interested in, with a kind of preconceived notion based on previews. And so far, I've been pretty impressed with every A24 horror entry that what they show you in the previews doesn't ruin the movie for you. It usually doesn't give you a quality snapshot of what you're going to see. It only just gives you the barest minimum. And then they tend to go a lot deeper without really having to hit you over the head with anything. And I definitely think that this is a very cool entry into their horror offerings. So to start off, it has pretty cool, quick intro into the main plot and the backstory of the main characters. Main plot is if you mess with supernatural stuff, it can make you go crazy and do crazy stuff, and you can end up being hurt. And the main character has some tragedy in her background that's affecting her a little bit, mentally, and is affecting her life. And at some point, those two things are going to meet, and that's where our movie is going to come in. And it was really nice that they didn't spend too long, drawing things out or, doing too many, kind of touchy-feely things, and then, pulling the rug out from under you and be like, oh, it's touchy-feely, everything feels good. Oh, wait, now you're sad, and now it's horror time. A lot of movies do that, and I think it's a little cliche. And so I did actually have that thought at the beginning of this movie when they kind of introduced the main character's backstory. I was like, oh, of course, she's tragic. She lost, somebody really significant to her. She's dealing with grief. And it kind of started putting me a little bit in the Babadook territory of vibes, and that's not my particular favorite film. I don't really like when the bad guy in a horror film is feelings, because I have my own feelings, and I don't find entertainment in exploring other people's feelings. But it started to feel a little Babadook territory for me, and I was a little concerned when I started watching it. I was like, I hope this isn't predictable. I hope it isn't like, oh no, and Grief was the bad guy in the end. Or, oh no, she actually had some sort of, like, she was schizophrenic the whole time. Like, I just, it's been done. And, but I have to say, the way that the story progressed, the way that the characters interacted with each other, the reactions to different things, all felt genuine. They felt authentic. And it really kind of felt like people paid close attention to the details. Even just small bits of dialogue here and there of, if you're wondering, well, how the heck did these people end up with this? There's a line of dialogue that explains that, and it's just a simple line. There is no big exposition. And I think that's cool, because almost in every movie, you usually end up with, it doesn't matter what genre it is, you end up with one character who kind of has to explain the plot of the movie to the audience by explaining it to the characters that are experiencing it, and that doesn't really make much sense to me. And everybody kind of is like, oh, and exposition. It's a cinema sin. But I think this movie did a really good job of kind of not holding your hand and just kind of letting the story unfold and tell itself. So you didn't have a character who's like explaining, you know, like, oh, and I got this thing from my friend and then it does this and this and this. It's just like, here's the rules. Do the thing. We're going to film it. And they do the rules and they touch the thing and then it gets filmed and you get a taste of it and you're like, oh, I can see where this is going bad, because they laid out all the rules. It's basically the way that they lay it out is kind of like Gremlins, where it's like, don't expose them to sunlight, don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet. And if you break those rules, chaos ensues. And this film is kind of similar. You know, it lays it out. It's like, don't stay longer than 30 seconds. You got to make sure you blow out the candle. And they lay out all those rules and they show you what happens. And then, of course, you know, oh, they're going to break these rules and chaos is going to ensue. And that's what happens. But the way that they managed to do it didn't necessarily feel cliche, because they left both the audience and the characters in the dark about things. And I think that's pretty cool, because a lot of times as viewers, we see things that the characters don't, and then we're getting frustrated and we're sitting here like, just do this thing, you know, like so and so said, just go get this book, just read the book, just do the thing. And it's really easy for us to kind of, you know, sit and get frustrated, and it kind of takes away the horror element. But when you're sitting there and you only have the information that the characters have, and you're seeing what they're going through, and you're also wondering, is this real? Like, is what I'm seeing that they're seeing, is that real? Or are they seeing something that's not real and the movie is showing it to me, so I'm going to be surprised in the end to find out none of this is real? It's cool when you're only given that little bit of information, so then the scares kind of feel like they're happening to you, because when the scary stuff starts happening, you don't know where it's going. You're sitting there going like, I don't know, is the guy gonna die? Is like, what's happening? Is this real? Could this happen? Like, this feels natural. There's no explanation for this. There's no answer to this. And I think that's really cool. And so I highly recommend that you take a look at this movie, but go in without expectations. Don't research it. Don't look into the story. Don't look into the characters or anything. Just turn on the movie without expectations and enjoy. And I would love to hear what any of you think about it. Like I said, I give it, I think, probably 4 stars out of 5. So, there you go.